One was T.S. Eliot. And this started 10 years ago when my baby granddaughter was born with a potentially life-threatening condition. We were very fearful that things would not turn out well. And in preparing myself for the worst, I started a series of paintings based on the poem Burnt Norton by T.S. Eliot, which speaks to the fragility of time and our place in time, and how we really only have the present. We don't have the past, we only have memories in the past. We don't know anything in the future, we can't be assured of the future. So all we really have is this moment. And I started reflecting on, actually I have to tell you as an aside, that Ivy was born and is perfectly fine. And in fact, she's perfectly beautifully precious. And I hope she's here tonight. Maybe she'll be here at some point. She's 10 years old and she's fantastic. However, the paintings that I started then had to do with thinking about time and how if she were born and things didn't work out, that I would, in my own heart and thinking, assign her to my ancestors who have gone on. If everything turned out fine, then she would join us here on earth in our family. And as it happened, that's what occurred. So yay. Yay. But Burnt Norton became such an integral part of my work because it's a beautiful and haunting poem. It's full of visual imagery. It's full of ideas which really catapulted me into thinking about poetry as a muse, which I went back and I had already been using poetry as a muse because I have a cousin. I'm the oldest cousin in our family. I was the firstborn cousin. My cousin Diana is the last born cousin of that generation. So I was in college when Diana was born. And so we didn't really grow up knowing each other very well. We saw each other, but we were, I was 19 or so when she was born. And so she was an infant. And I didn't get to know her as well until we were both adults. And you reach that point in time where you can actually talk to another adult, regardless of the generation gap. Well, that's where we are now. And she's an accomplished poet, and she has sent me poetry over the years that I have interpreted with my paintings and drawings. And that's where the working with the poetry actually came from for me. I know a lot of other artists do this. And so I moved into this year, I moved into really looking at the work that she had sent to me as a source for inspiration and for just thinking about my work in a different way. Because I'm always, after 40 years, I'm always going to do figurative work. I'm always going to do landscape work. I'm always going to assign personal meanings to that work that may or may not translate to you, the viewer, who looks at it from a different point of view and in a different time and space. But if I title it and if I explain it with a line from a verse, then suddenly the muse is shared between two media. Does that make sense? So my thinking was that pairing is a very natural and normal and beautiful thing. I've asked Diana to come here tonight because she has been recently honored with yet more publication. She's written a novel, which is here. She's been published for years now in poetry journals, and I've asked her to come and share some of her written word with you. And with that, I'm going to introduce my cousin, Diana Conces.
And one of my first adult purchases, when I was out on my own and I had income to spend, was going to one of Liz's shows, and I bought a couple of her paintings that are still in my house, and when my mother moved in with me, her aunt and namesake, I got that backwards, but you know what I mean. That we got one of her art school still lifes that is hanging up in our dining room right now. So we've been involved with her art for years, and I love what she does. So when she told me about this and proposed this project together and kind of asynchronous collaboration, I was so honored and so excited. So when I read her artist statement and it talked kind of about uncertainty and layering and time and the mystery of all of that, it made a lot of sense, because if you go through and look at some of the poems that she picked, it's the same type of thing. It's a lot of uncertainty, unknowing, those types of things. So I picked 5 poems to read to you tonight. 2 of them are in this exhibition. 2 of my favorite little fused glass pieces over there are from this first one. And the kids and I just love those. They're so beautiful. In your body is the garden of flowers. Time pauses in your glance, and your eyes blossom. Hydrangea petals sparkle in the swirl of beauty blowing through the gates of your lips. Love pulses through the stem. Strange photosynthesis quickens the emerald flowering of beauty as it travels down, down to the tangled hunger of roots in the fertile soil of your heart. And I want to say this one is from that painting right there. 2 pebbles in the river. Dark water pushes bits of earth along the lazy depths of river, swirling and molding, using pressure, time, and friction, the awesome power of touch. Each pebble a world entire with depths and fissures, fingerprinted grains and textures, just 2, alike and dissimilar. I know you, but not your mystery. Dark water caresses each, lifting up, away, together, dancing in the currents, touching once and no more. Space stretching into memory, the memory of touching that lingers, the friction of pressure, the pressure of time. Our journeys in the dark water, together, apart. I have a poetry collection that will be coming out next year sometime. It's not here yet, that's what's on a flyer if you're interested. And so these next 2 are from that. These are more the equivalent of landscapes. I did a lot of traveling through Texas on small roads and by roads and things like that. So these are place poems. This one is in the 2019 Texas Poetry Calendar. And if you travel I-10 going west, you may recognize this particular spot. Abandoned I-10 rest stop, a love song. Brookshire. Blue skies bear gently, sliding softly down, swaddled in all the names of the sea breeze, your words, a traveler's shield, and tuck them in with a green webbed concrete blanket at the entrance to the closed rest stop on I-10 West. Interred with the bones of picnic tables, ashes of decayed cigarettes ground into ground with the tire dust of an army of cars marching west through long decades, leaving scattered exoskeletons of cockroaches loaded with picnic sandwich crumbs and drunk on Dr. Pepper, and the scattered starlight of broken beer bottles buried under a shroud of dirt and weeds, sheltered in the tangled arms of oaks, waiting, well back of the growling highway, to receive a traveler's blessing where no travelers are longer welcome. Safe travels. And I grew up in South Texas a little bit, half there, half here. And this is going back to Sinton, or back through Sinton, where I spent some time as a youngster. Been a while. I had forgotten quite how summer wheat rusted down into cracked gray earth, how it burned, dark and low across a caliche road, from showy cotton popping on faded green bushes. Sunlight peeled off years like dry skin, and I recalled the precise quality of sunlight unfiltered by trees, the surgical brightness bathing in the incision site, illuminating old wounds, chasms deep as a white brick schoolhouse, palm trees, plywood shacks, green striped wallpaper, powder blue bicycle, 10 acres deep. Back at the surface, impossible heights of stacked thunderclouds above sandy loam tumble inevitably into the gentle lull of that gray-green forgetting. And I remembered at last how all those massed droplets never quite make it down, molecules shimmering, smoke evaporating with rain in the July air. And I'm going to close with the one that was nominated for last year's Pushcart Prize. It's To Eve, from a different point of view. I've been waiting for you to crawl out of your skin, leave that spandex self split, blaze into the garden like June under banner of sunlight to know things. Already spring's thawed sludge is baked to bricks, parched, thirsting with the rain, steaming the path. Can you feel it? I've been waiting for you, forked tongue tasting honey thick in the humming air, watching the poppies breathe, open and close, beating with the pulse of days. The wise move summer slow, heat heavy sidle along the path, feel the swelling sense of purpose. Destiny waits like marble, let me sculpt it. I've been waiting for you. At last, I breathe in dust and flies and your wary regard. Settle with me in coiled readiness, spread open your dazzling mind on that shaded rock. I have things to tell you, one snake to another. And so with that, I will return it to Liz.
Lovely. I have nothing more to say. I'm going to leave those words with you unless you have questions or comments that you'd like to share. And my beautiful granddaughter Ivy, come.